Okay, that should be enough. I just have to get some fan noise so I can filter it out later.
Oh,
Okay, oh my god. We're going to start this thing right now. Welcome, Ivar. Tell us your name. I don't want to say it wrong. Tell us your name for the unicycle world. So no one ever says it wrong again.
That's my first name.
But the whole thing. Tell us the whole thing.
The whole thing. Ivar Christenson.
There you go. In case anyone was wondering.
If you're a speaker, you gotta pretend that it's the letter E in the start.
Is that true for all Swedish names with the letter I, or just yours?
No, that's true for all the names and everything else. I think it goes also in English sometimes that I is pronounced E.
I would have to look. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I know that's probably true somewhere. And all native English speakers are probably going to make fun of me now for not knowing the obvious word where I sounds like an E. But, I'm a rock climber and a unicyclist. I'm not
thinking of
an English professional.
I can see it.
Oh, there you go. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
So, we tried to record one of these, Ivar, and it, foolishly on my part, it didn't go well. So here we are. Thank you again for doing another one of these with me.
Thanks for inviting me. Second time around.
Yeah. I'm just glad that, I hope it goes well, too. So, we talked a lot about your styles and all this jazz, but let's get back to just some of the basic things. Well, like we said, we're not going to try to recreate this conversation the way it was. I want to do a little adjustment here for anyone who's watching. But you have been a unicycle sensation for some time now. I'd say the last little bit, the last couple of years. Your popularity has only grown, and as I was talking to you about this last time, I had sat before we talked and I had watched like every one of your videos. I just watched the whole thing all the way through, and I feel like we see a lot of rider videos, like the highlights, like the videos that are like the main ones you see on in social media, or some of the basic ones on YouTube. I don't know if everyone goes through and watches every single person's videos, but your discipline and ability to do almost all your tricks on both sides is astounding. And I would dare to say there was very few unicyclists who are even close to doing as many maneuvers, stunts, if you will, on both sides as you are. What do you think?
Yeah, probably. It's not so common, and it's definitely something that's changed my whole perspective on unicycling during the last years, and it keeps changing today. So I decided to go for symmetrical some years ago, and I took that idea from a juggler at the time. So there was a juggler that I know called Emil Dahl, and he was practicing all the time both sides. And for him it was part of an idea of doing basics, because if you do the other side, you get better on your first side as well. So for him it was an idea of just being able to increase, to get better faster, by doing both.
For sure. And then there's another thing we talked about that I thought was really cool. Who knows if we'll be able to capture the spirit of it again. But you talked about, I was always talking about how I sometimes feel like I make the mistake when I practice my riding where I train, not the tricks I know, but the tricks that I'm weak at. And you had suggested almost kind of to the opposite. Like really train the tricks you do know really, really hard.
Yeah, but also, so this same guy had an approach to that and an idea that he would practice on a consistency rate, or how do you say?
Yeah.
Of 80%. But it's probably good to vary, to do a bit of both, no matter what you're doing, because they can do different stuff, and also it's worth something even if it's for the fun of it.
Yeah, totally.
Feel of it, and to keep searching and get ideas. to try stuff.
So you're saying practice 80, like when you do a session, you would say do 80% of the tricks that you have down to keep them tight, like keep them clean, if you will, and then spend 20% of the time working on new tricks.
Well, that's not what I was thinking really. What I meant, what I took from Emil, the juggler, is that the perfect difficulty level to be practicing on is to go for something that you succeed 4 out of 5 times.
Oh, I see. So your success rate for the trick that you're working on is decent. You're not frustrating yourself by working on tricks that are way outside your scope.
Right.
And then...
So I have a 3-spin, a 5-spin, and a 7-spin, and the 3-spin is 100% consistency.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't give me anything to... Or it doesn't give me much to keep running it.
Totally.
And the 7-spin is maybe 1 out of 100 times, and then it doesn't give me to practice it either. But if the 5-spin has a 4 out of 5 success rate, then it's a good level to be working on and clean it up. But I don't know. It can vary. Can vary a lot. And I didn't track my own consistency so much. But I've definitely been drawn to getting basics and to keep switching sides and try to like replicate my better side on my worse side, and then finding stuff on my worse side to bring back to the better side and make them both even better.
Do you find that since you've practiced your riding on both sides this way, that sometimes like you work on a maneuver on one side, and since you've done this for a while, when you try to learn a maneuver on the other side, sometimes it's you get it faster on your other side than it was to learn it on your good side? Or does it feel like you have to practice just as much to learn both sides?
Well, it probably, a lot of times, if you come after, if you really know the trick on one side, and then you're trying to get the other side, it probably feels much slower because it's so frustrating, because it's just the same thing. It looks the same once you get it.
Yeah.
So it will feel really frustrating. Practice your bad side, obviously. But I think it should be faster because you have a lot to learn from. As I said, you can like cross-learn like this. I often compare it to the way... I don't have any riding buddies here a lot of times, so I often compare it to the way that it is if you have if you have a riding buddy. You know, you can take advice from your friend, and you can give advice to your friend.
Or even see how they try something. They might try to do the same trick a little differently than you.
Yeah, and it really works the same thing. If I take a concrete example, like 5-spins, when I first did them in one direction, I used to have the technique of like my front hand leading around and pushing it to the end like this with the handle. And then when I did my second side, I suddenly started using the backhand to grab and do the scoop thingy, and then the kind of fifth looking pass.
The hand pass is what we call it.
Yeah, the hand pass one.
Mose makes fun of me because I won't learn it.
Yeah. What?
Sorry, go ahead and finish what you were saying.
As soon as you have two, you have an opportunity to compare them, to consider doing any of those techniques on the other.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Mose is trying to learn the 5-spin hand pass, so he can do it without letting go of the seat. And I don't do... we were talking about this last time. I don't do my 5 spins that way. I throw them, and I let go, and I land seat in. And I don't know why. They just feel comfortable that way. But I do hold on for my 360. Like, compared to a regular 3-spin where you hand pass and grab, I spin my 3-spin in my hand all the way around for the 540, and then when it gets all the way to the 3, then I let go for just the last 180.
Right.
So I am in a weird, I guess it's not a hand pass, but in a weird way, I am like holding onto the unicycle all the way until like the last minute, and then letting go just for the last 180.
Yeah, it's probably good to search control. I mean, even the one that I didn't go to using the word hand pass, because my first side, as I mentioned, I always thought of it as pushing it around with the front hand, even if I do lose contact. But I would want to ask you, did you ever try 360, I think it's called Kovacs spin, where you start both hands the unexpected direction from your hand position?
I have to think about it for a second. Oh, that sounds weird. I've never tried that. I'm going to try that tomorrow, though.
It would be weird, but what I realized is that if you if you're doing a 5-spin like you're doing it from seat backwards, then if you imagine turning your hands the first 180, and then go, then it's basically a Kovacs 360 in the end. But you would keep a little longer before you release, you say.
I'll have to try that.
Maybe you'll have it down after your 5 spins.
Oh, that sounds weird. It's so funny to me that I ride all the time, and I just never think to even try some of these maneuvers. You know, I spend so much time just making sure I can still do a crank flip.
Yeah, but it's the same for me. I really miss having people to ride with that constantly bring new ideas, new stuff to do.
Yeah. You know, it's new ideas, and then you were saying like recording stuff. Like I used to keep a journal of my trick riding. Do you ever write your stuff down?
Definitely now and then. Sometimes I am, in a project making a sequence or trying to stack some clips or something, but it's kind of messy. I now and then write something for some reason.
Yeah.
But
so
do a little.
You hope you remember one day.
Yeah, hopefully one day. And then sometimes it happens that I, for some reason, try to make a bigger list or bigger gathering of what I can do or what I have done. Like one time I saw a question in Unicycle chat, a guy asking, is there a unicycle skill tree or so?
Yeah.
Like and a list to, and for sure there's so many versions, but I thought I would send him as an example an idea of my evolution, what it's been like. So I tried to write down my own tree, very short, I wrote my path through techniques during the last 5-6 years. First tricks that's led to the second tricks, to the third tricks.
Oh, that's so interesting. When you wrote down your skill tree, were you surprised like the order in which some of the things like happened?
Surprised?
Yeah, like if I don't know if you like wrote your tricks down like in the order in which you landed them. Did you like look back and be like, I did my tricks. I learned my tricks in a weird way.
No, I don't know. I think it makes sense when you gather it like that. It really, it seems to make sense. You can see the connections. Like I mentioned to you last time, we talked about different coasts, and for me it was in the beginning. I've really wanted to do scuff coasts, and a lot of my riding has been based on this grip. So
we were talking how you were trying to learn. You know, we were talking about your coast and how you do your coast like forward and backward, but this was like almost developed accidentally because you were trying to learn scuff coasts, but you couldn't get sideways enough, right?
Exactly. I couldn't do side coast, and I still don't really know how to do beautiful, proper side coasts.
I mean, your coasts look beautiful enough to me, that's for sure.
Thanks. And you have only your 1 foot coast, your sitting coast, or you ever tried to scuff?
I can glide pretty good. On when I warm up, I can glide really well. I can only do the 1 foot coast on with the right leg off. But that's not how I learned to coast. Originally, I learned how to coast both feet on the frame, like balancing that way. And I used to be able to. I can still do it sometimes when I practice my coasting. But I used to. I think I did like a 50-foot coast one time with both feet on the frame.
Yeah.
And but that was a long. That must have been in like 2008 or something like that.
Yeah.
And while I know it's not the best way to coast, I still think both feet on the frame coasting looks really cool.
It does. It does.
And you do the one where like you put a foot off, put it back on, put it back off. I would love to be able to do that. That's a cool one.
It's a really fun transition. It's still not. I've kind of been pushed back a little bit with my 1 foot coast progression since I moved to 24 inch.
Does it feel different?
I used to. Yeah. Well, first, this frame is a bit bad. I have the Man for One frame here, and I got the race version, so it's a bit too narrow, and you don't get much grip with the foot.
Oh, because it's we've talked about this because it's a racing frame, right?
Exactly. And then I got another racing frame, the Nimbus frame, and it gives a little bit more.
That was my roommate. He's like, maybe next time.
So it's a struggle. The racing frame is really good for making the 24 inch lighter, but it's given me a hard time with 1 foot coast, which is a coast from the start also that I'm not so good. I think people often expect that I'm better with it because it's seen as the easiest coast.
Yeah.
But I worked so much on scuff coasts in the beginning, so it's really a stronger side for me.
That's pretty interesting. And, you know, it's funny when you talk about, like, the unicycle skill tree, I think, like, it's funny how things like that can happen. That's kind of like what I meant, is, like, I've learned some tricks where, like, you know, I learned how to do all these different spins and flips, and then later, when I, like, came back and learned, say, how to do, like, a bay flip, I thought bay flips were really hard, but what was funny is after I learned how to bay flip, learning how to do all my other tricks on tire was or all my spins on tire afterward were really easy. I had never done, say, for example, a 270 spin on tire or off of tire before I had done like a bay flip. And then after I learned that, it was like really easy. Like my brain understood how to like be on the tire essentially.
Nice. Yeah, sometimes they really connect stuff. They work like basics for each other, like elements. And it's hard with the unit to connect stuff like that. I do skating now, and it's so easy to connect the different techniques. Like I spent the whole winter practicing manuals and ollies mainly, because I'm very in my skating, and it feels so easy to connect these two things that are kind of complete opposite. It's like ground close control and jumping, but it's also so easy to connect them because you can have the same tension kind of, and you can really see how like they use the same to be comfortable. But with the uni you have so many different places: the tire, the pedals, the cranks, the frame.
Well, and with the skateboard, generally speaking, you can like wait until you feel ready to like jump and do a trick. I feel like sometimes with the uni, you know,
like
when you're on flat. Because like even on the unicycle, sometimes you feel ready, and then you ride, and then you wait for your cranks to get there, and as soon as you go to like jump to like do the trick, you're like totally like fall apart, you know?
Yeah, the stance, the lineup of the pedals, that's something, and it is on flat. It's something, as you say, and with the obstacles, it's something completely else, of course.
Totally.
I was do a mani pad yesterday with the uni, and like getting it to line up for the landing after a coast, and it's a mess. It's investigated, but it's a big motivation to do this symmetrical thing, because it would open up so much if you have the ability to improvise, and I appreciate it really much. I'm very far from actually being strong with the goofy stuff.
Yeah.
If you think about jumping stuff and flips and so, but I can already see a good progression in, like, if I'm riding and just want to jump up a curb.
Yeah, you're ready to do it.
Maybe
in
a
that
year
stance.
ago, maybe. Yeah. Before, like two years ago, I guess, or so, I would be still really uncomfortable with jumping up a curb in goofy. But today I can jump up the curb in any stance it comes to, and it feels comfortable.
For sure. That's pretty. I learned how to do that riding Muni. When I ride Muni, sometimes you need to even just like clear a small obstacle. You just have to. You don't have the choice to roll over it, so you need to hop a little bit. And I learned really easily how to hop in Goofy and then like do the half rev in the air. I wouldn't say I could functionally do that for any street riding, but for like jumping up a curve, I could do it for that pretty good.
Yeah. Muni is so good in that sense. Just makes you strong at riding.
That's true. All the cardio you need for for unicycling, for sure.
Yeah, the cardio and the technique of the foot motion of pedaling, right?
Yeah, I think like the difference between like Muni and street is like, you can do a lot of sloppy landing in street. But if you're riding Muni, your whole point, of course, is to try and not fall off at all. And so you have to really learn how to find those landings, especially if you want to do drops. Otherwise, you'll just never be able to do them, or you'll always feel uncomfortable doing them. So, we don't have to go as detailed as we did last time necessarily, but let's do the age-old. How did you start riding?
Oof. The story. It happened 2013. I was curious. You might remember that around there a decade ago, it was pretty big with the Segways and electric unicycles.
There are electric unicycles all over my neighborhood right now. All over.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Right now, you don't react anymore. They just swoosh by. Well, I didn't. I was inspired by that. I saw them and I was like, wait a second, that works? How does that work? Because I hadn't seen them so much before. So I heard about how they use the accelerometer inside to balance up.
Totally.
I had thought about it in theory. I was like, okay, that's actually pretty simple. And then I realized you can do the same thing with your foot power, and I wanted to try it out. So I wished one for Christmas and got one. So in 2014, I began to ride, and I thought this would be really practical for getting around.
That's right. I remember that.
It's so compact compared to a bike. You can take it on the bus, and then you can ride the last distance and anything like this. So I went to the Uni store, which we have here in Stockholm, luckily.
That's nice.
And I got a 29-inch. And when I bought it, the owner of the store, he invited me to the Swedish Championships, which was going to happen. So I came to ride the marathon, and later the same night there was flatland competition, and I was really tired after doing a marathon, but I stayed to watch, and I saw Josef, and I saw Lukas Wadstedt, if you know him.
Oh, yeah.
Andrea Eide, and a couple of other good riders that Sweden had back then.
Long ago.
Yeah. And I made an interesting choice that night because Joseph was trying quad flip for last trick. He brought the same last trick to Unicon later the same summer, but he was trying it there in the Swedish champs. But actually, I found it really boring. Like I had seen all the riding they did, and I thought the riding was really cool. All the rolls and foot jams and spins. And stuff in the battles, and I noticed, I saw from how everybody reacted and from the riding that Joseph was like one of the steeziest and highest level.
So true.
Yeah, amazing riding. But once he tried that quad flip, like he had attempt after attempt, and I saw that all the other good flatland riders were like, quad flip, oh, it's such a big trick. But I thought this trick looks like nothing because you can't really see how many revs the pedals are spinning.
That's just the problem with crank flips, right?
Yeah.
Like if you know how to do a triple crank flip, a double crank flip, you know how hard it is. But if you don't know how to do a crank flip, you're like, it just looks like spinning the wheel a bunch of times.
And you get the feeling, like today I think of riding basically, I think it translates kind of to the sensation of doing it. If I look at somebody riding, I get a little bit of the feeling of doing it myself.
Yeah.
So it's really like a language in the tension of the feet and the wobble in the hand when it's flipping and everything. But at that point, I was thinking that okay, I'm gonna skip crank flips so that I have more time to work on all these other beautiful tricks that they're doing. And that's something that I could regret today because now I have a lot of homework to do on my flips still. But also it helped me to have a naive idea of that I could get good at this in the start because I thought that I don't have to do that, so I should be able to get really strong in a lot of other stuff.
Well, as I told you before, I still think the crank flip is the worst trick.
Yeah.
It's
and you don't have it safe. One crank flip?
I would say I do. I would say if I could generally probably do a crank flip anytime I wanted. Even when I did it, I've done it down to 6 set is the biggest thing I've ever done a crank flip down. And I did it on like my second try. I found the perfect 6 set, and I practiced on 3 sets, 4 sets, 4 sets, and I could do the 4 set over and over and over again. And then I went to the top of the 6 set, and I was really scared, and I jumped. I rode and I jumped, and just kind of let go of the wheel, and it was like, no problem, I can do it. And I jumped again and flipped the cranks, and then it's like, okay, that was easy, and I jumped again and flipped and caught it, landed immediately.
Nice.
Yeah. But I haven't been back to try it again. Foolish, probably.
What?
I haven't been back to do it again, which is probably not good. I should probably do it again.
Yeah. You need a routine.
Yeah.
But, did you ever try to kickflip a skateboard?
Never.
I would suggest that you try it out sometime, because it actually relates a lot to crank flip.
You think?
I was thinking about I could barely do ollies, and I remember having this thought oh, maybe I can do a kickflip in a really new, weird way if I just pretend it's the pedals of a uni, put my feet diagonal across the board and snap. And then I kind of forgot about that, and I was practicing all this and getting into skater. Once I started getting the kickflip, I understood that, that's actually how you do it. It is really close to the feeling of a crank flip.
Yeah.
You just have a back foot and a front foot, and you snap.
Can't be harder than that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I like late flips and I really like double flips, but there's just something about the single crank flip that, like I said, it's not big enough of a trick to be satisfying when you do it, but it's only frustrating and disappointing if you can't do it, when you're trying to practice,
Yeah,
But we've all had the moment where you gotta do the crank flip like you just do it any time, and then you just drop and you're like, oh my god, why do I even try to do this? So you went. Sorry, go ahead.
it's frustrating. It's frustrating if you fall on something
Yeah.
that you shouldn't fall.
Or you do a regular crank flip and you whack your shin with the pedal, and you're like, it's not even worth it.
It always you are at the unexpected places.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So you got your unicycle for transportation. You went to the 2013 Swedish Championships. You saw flatline riding, and you thought it looked good. You thought it was cool.
Yeah. Well, then there's so much that's happened, so I'll try to continue the story a bit. At the same championships, there's another funny thing in the trials competition. I told you last time that the owner of the store, he also came to me and he handed me a trials uni.
Oh, that's right.
And said, join the competition.
Have fun. Go play. And you're like, I can't even hop.
Yeah, I could barely hop. I guess I could hop a little bit. But if I remember correctly, what I realized after trying some of the easiest obstacles was that I should practice a 180 hop twist. So I spent most of the trial competition just at the side on the flat trying to do my 180 hop twist. And I think it's funny when I look back at it that it's like my first flatland session happened during trials comp.
That is awesome. You're like, trials comp, let's just do flatland for trials. That's how I do my trials.
Yeah, get the basics. And then I think it must have been the year after, in 2015, after I had started do some more flatland, that also Sofia Pellman came to Sweden. And she had even more to get me curious in scuff coasts and some rolls. So this is what I wanted to do. And I watched Unicon in Montreal. I watched it online with the live stream and got really hyped at the beginning of my riding.
Yeah.
And looked up to Joseph as an idol, the way he was moving through the battles there. And funny that I saw Pierre and Pablo, and I thought those were some of my least favorites. Pierre I really disliked because he was using a round crown.
Oh yeah.
And he was still doing scuff walks,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of scuff walks or like sideways wheel walk. And I was just looking at him and I was like, you gotta have a square crown in flatland. It's so beautiful to coast.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But I've changed a lot my opinion since then around that, and for sure about Pierre's riding, because Pierre and Pablo, who I thought looked weird at that point, they turned out my favorites. Shortly after I got more into it, they became my very favorites.
Pierre's
the way they take
fast flatland movements are. I've tried to do just one trick and then another trick quickly, and that is challenging. Like doing a 180, like 180 back to tire and then back again. Something as simple as that, and then it's really hard. And he does 10 tricks, 15 tricks, more, like all in one.
Yeah, but what he brought, I noticed this really in San Sebastian, and it's of course come during a longer time as well. But it looked like the main thing that he really at that time was this idea to just like jump to tire and do jams consecutive. Can you say that?
Yeah, consecutively.
Right. Yeah. Consecutive jams and tire hops and spins on the tire, and it works well because they're independent from the pedal position.
Yeah.
So he was getting up and doing some tricks on tire and like jumps back down and pushes the crank from wherever it is.
Yeah, and he does very unusual crank flips through a lot of his moves as well, I feel.
Yeah. he has a special. He's this strong back flipper
Yeah.
guy, but also he doesn't do late backs. He accepts two-handed power flips.
Yeah.
Kind of rare because a lot of people want it one-handed and want that ease in it. Want to have the high jump and the...
Yeah. I've learned all my crank flips one-handed. I've never done a crank flip two-handed, and I think it's to my detriment, honestly. I've never learned any crank flips two-handed. I've done all of them one-handed.
Cool.
I landed my with the same hand. Yeah, with my right hand. I learned my singles, doubles, and my triples one-handed. But
nice.
Nice.
I haven't landed one triple.
I have landed, I think 3. I'm trying to get them on my new unicycle, but they are very challenging. That's that extra like half rotation and air time is like really tough to get. You have to jump really high.
Yeah.
I can't.
For me, it's still the double a lot of times. Like I have to be really strong and snappy to get that double. But they're coming along.
Was San Sebastian your first Unicon?
Yeah, it was my first Unicon and also my first uni event abroad of any kind. And it was still pretty early in my years then. I just started 2 years before that. So it brought a lot of motivation.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was time to be there at Unicon. I miss it today.
Yeah, I miss it. I had not missed a Unicon for several years, and the first one I missed was in Korea.
Yeah.
And so I had to move out of my apartment due to circumstances out of my control, and that took all my Korea money, unfortunately.
Yeah, for a lot of people, it was the money that made them not go to Korea, right?
Well,
for me, I used the money I had to go to Korea. At the time I had the sponsorship by Impact.
Oh yeah.
By Nimbus, as I have the shirt here, but they paid the registration.
Oh, that's nice.
So when I knew that I had the chance to get registration paid, I was like, oh, I want to take the chance and get there. And I was just graduating high school. So right after high school, I just burned all my money on flights to Korea.
I mean, if you're going to blow your money when you're young one time, that's probably the time to do it.
Yeah, it's a good investment. And I can't regret it now. Now it's so many years to the next Unicon after Korea. So it was really nice to be there as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But at both of these, to get to another topic that we should as well, the separation between flatland and freestyle.
Oh yeah, we talked about this a lot last time. I was saying, because from my perspective, I feel as though your riding is one of the most perfect blends of freestyle and flatland. But you were saying that you identify yourself very specifically. You wanna tell us? What are you, Ivar? What are you?
Freestyler. No, it's not specific. Yeah, freestyle. I don't know. It's flatland is a good word because it says that it's flat, and often that's what I'm looking for. And I like to say that. I think it's kind of funny that I went to 2 world championships and there wasn't a flat ground in the flatland competition.
You hear that, Spain? Yeah.
Yeah. Here that Spain and Korea also. It was like...
I'm just a little like... Your cars are going a little faster in one direction compared to the other, that's for sure.
Yeah. and even worse with the rolls because they constantly take turns, and they constantly start and finish with the where the crank goes. So having that in combination with the floor that somehow changes, it messes it up. But it depends on how sensitive you are, for sure.
Totally.
Stuff, and of course I've spent a lot of time working indoors on a super smooth plastic floor, just like a freestyler, but in a circus gym. So that makes me, there's so many ways that you can define the different disciplines on, and that suggests that I'm doing freestyle because I like a plastic floor. And that's why I like to, when I get to the freestyle gym as well, I like the way you can ride on that.
You know, a lot of first-time flatland tricks have been landed on the gym floor as well. So I don't know if there's that big a separation, is there, guys? What do you think? What do you think about the? Do you think because you, like you said, you're a little later to this like idea, so. Do you feel a separation between flatland and freestyle in your life, or do you feel like they're kind of just a lot of the same types of riding? It's like people just choose to do it other places.
Well, to me, it's, as I said, I've been missing riding buddies in Sweden, and I haven't been riding in a freestyle gym in a sports hall with a whole freestyle team much, but I've been riding in a circus gym instead. So through some years I've related my riding to juggling, and even a lot of times I've said that, just to make it kind of easier to connect concretely to that, I've just said that I'm doing juggling with a unicycle. And so then I haven't even met that question much. I've thought a lot
That's
about
a good point.
Other definition points. Like I was thinking about a question if it would be a sport or an art.
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's a question jugglers had up. And then I heard some skater also mention sport and art and suggest the word puzzle in that. So it's really, there's a lot of different ways to define it, but I guess it's good to know why you're trying to define it as you do, or what you're trying to do. And of course, a lot of riders are really just doing what they want, but even more in flatland, I guess. So that's nice with flatland, and I think something that draws a lot of people to flatland, that people tend to do really their own thing a lot, while as freestylers, they're very tight in a community, and they like to, a lot of freestylers like to do stuff that other people around them are doing.
Yeah.
Some years now, maybe flatland has been like more progressive, brought more new stuff, brought more individual styles.
Do you think it would be fun to see like pairs flatland battles? Like like people are trying to like do choreographed flatland battles, like 2-on-2.
Well, what makes it a battle if it's choreographed?
Like, maybe the riders have sets of like trick routine combo ideas that they already have like practiced, and so when they're gonna try to do a little bit of a battle back and forth, like they could do whatever they wanted, like both riders, but if they did like some in unison type tricks, it could look really cool.
Yeah,
because like it would offer the free form of like flatland, like you could do any tricks you want, but the more synchronized the riding is, the better it looks.
But I don't know how you mean that it's gonna be synchronized if it's a battle, because isn't it switching turns?
It is switching turns, but the two riders on a team, so like you and me would be on a team, and then two other riders would be on a team. Yeah, 2-on-2.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, 2-on-2.
Maybe. It sounds like a lot evolved.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot evolved. I don't know. It sounds difficult to battle as a pair against another pair. I have difficulty even battling myself. Like I see the other rider. I see that other rider. I think they're finished, and I'm like about to mount, and then oh no, or so. And it's very like the social aspect of it is kind of tricky. Or also if I'm riding, if I don't get fully focused on my riding, I often tend to like notice that the other rider wants to get on and I want to leave space for them.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
It would be fun. I'm very interested in the idea of like different types of unicycle competition. It's not to say that I don't like I like the ones we have, but I feel like sometimes we have like forced unicycling to be competitive through these ideas of competition. Like rather than maybe coming up with a fresh idea, where I do think that battles is one of the freshest ideas for unicycle competition. It's a lot different, obviously, than freestyle. But what other types of competition could we reinvent with unicycling that's really fresh and original?
It's really interesting. But I would ask you why do you want to see different ideas of unicycle competition?
Just for fun. Just for fun.
For fun?
Yeah, like,
yeah.
I feel like...
Because I find that's kind of what this sport art question is about. That for some reason for me, sport is connected to competition. And a lot of times, unicycling seems to be a bit stuck with the idea that it should be a sport, and I think it's something to distinguish from traditional circus that we're tired of.
Oh, sure. The stigma of art is something that some unicyclists want to move away from.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't like being called a clown. I will say that.
There's too many competitions. Like, if you want to go to a place and hang out with other riders and ride a lot and share your riding and show it to the other unicyclists that can appreciate it, then why make a competition out of it?
Yeah.
Specific.
It's something I've talked about a lot. There's like a lot, just with various riders, people have heard me blather on about this. But like, I sometimes think while we're always trying to get as much competition into Unicon as possible, sometimes, not always, but sometimes I feel like a bit more time could be spent on the convention part of Unicon. It's already so much pressure to get every event in it, and so I understand that it would be tough. But there are times where, like, maybe, like, if I were to host a Unicon in Spokane, I would, it would be, some of the riding would be challenging to find, I think. And so, like, rather maybe taking out some of the events that have low populations and instead make those, like, convention events instead. I don't know. Have some more party nights by design.
I had one amazing day in Korea when I went to 2 workshops by 2 different Swiss riders, Thomas Tiersch and Joachim Kyoka. And they both had a class each, which was pretty long. I think we spent at least 2 hours with every one of their classes. So it was just one amazing day with a small group of riders who showed up to the freestyle gym that day to participate in this workshop, which was just idea sharing. And then I went to my favorite convention in Germany, the IATA freestyle convention. And that whole convention was based around this format as well, that the different riders just hosted workshops to share tricks and ideas.
Yeah, I think, they always have workshops at Unicon. Every Unicon I've been to has had workshops, but a lot of them always seem to be in the very unofficial capacity. I've been to really, really awesome workshops, and I've been to some workshops that were so-so, people just hanging out. One of the silliest workshops we had, I think, was in Italy, and we had a nap napping workshop. Everyone just showed up, brought their pillows and blankets, and everyone just took a nap for like 2 hours.
Nice.
But then we had a water gun fight workshop as well, and stuff like that.
The water fight, I heard rumors about that in Korea also.
Yeah, it's fun.
They're supposed to have water war there as well.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then there was a crazy rainstorm too in Italy. I think everyone who went to Italy remembers that. It was like the shingles were like coming off the roof and water was like pouring off on waterfalls. It was fun to have a water fight. What would you say? Well, yeah, we were talking about all of the freestyle stuff, but I don't know. What do you think? What does unicycling need right now, Ivar?
Oof. Well, I'm really passionate about this symmetry thing, and we talked about it for a long time already.
I think I want to practice it more after talking to you about it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really get to saying that the story actually behind it for me to give some idea of how it's changed.
Yeah, please.
Of how it's gonna keep changing, I don't know, but how it's changed is that when I first decided that it's a good idea to get other sides, to get feedback to my first side, then I couldn't imagine getting right foot forward as a foot stance.
Yeah.
But I started practicing my switch scuff coast instead, because I thought I haven't been scuffing as many years as I've been jumping in a stance, so it felt more reachable to aim for doing that one. But then, of course, as soon as you do one thing on the other side, then you want to try and connect it to something in the same way as you do on the other, and then it leads to doing something else on the and because different techniques relate, you're never gonna get fully symmetrical, because if you're doing your toothbrushing with your right hand, you keep staying dominant with your right hand anyways. If you practice cycling with your left hand.
That's funny. I'm right-handed, but I brush my teeth with my left hand. I don't know why.
Right.
I am.
Nice.
I've also been told that I cut my food the wrong way. I can't think of it now, but I've told you're supposed to like hold the knife or the fork with your dominant hand. I guess I do the opposite. I like cut with my dominant hand and I eat with my non-dominant. I don't know which way is the right.
I also do that. I also do that fork in right hand. I prefer it. But yeah, what's happened later is, as I've started to realize that it's possible to get the switch foot position as well, and started feeling hopeful about getting anything on the other side, then I started dreaming about different combinations. And from the start, it was more pushed, the idea that, like, I've done combos, as you've seen on my YouTube, where it's like one side and the other side. And I thought that they bring a nice kind of repetition, but also not repetition, because it's new, but it's also the same. So it's a nice mix of doing something again, but it's also something different.
Yeah. Well, it just looks so good.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so... probably just to people who have ridden a lot, it's so noticeable, I think, now at my age, that like when I see someone doing their tricks on the same side over and over again, you just notice that a rider can only do it on one side. It just... I think after watching all your videos, it just looks crazy to see you do all your maneuvers on one side again, and then do them all on the other side.
Yeah, but today I realized that, okay, I don't have to... That's an idea of how to practice, to just try to back up the one side with the other. But then they can cross in so many different ways and make new stuff. And we used to say... I don't know if you've heard the term fuck-footed.
Did you say flat-footed or fuck-footed?
No, fuck-footed.
I have not heard fuck-footed. What is fuck-footed?
This is what I think it comes in most with combos, but we used to say it all the time when we had like out the games on Facebook and such. And if that's a combination where you combine something on one side and something on the other side. So if I'm doing rolling wrap, back roll, scuff coast, that's a kind of classic combo. But I'm one of those guys that's done most of my scaff coasts from the beginning from my front foot back roll.
I see.
So if I do my regular rolling wrap, I end up on the other, blah, blah, blah. And then if you combine stuff in different ways. And
then you're fuck-footed.
Yeah. We have Fito Bon Arton over in Argentina.
Mhm.
He has his varial rolls on, like, starting from his back foot. So you can notice that his varial rolls feel really unexpected when they come into the combo.
Oh yeah, because instead of doing it obviously from the front foot like most people, he does it out. That is interesting. I wonder if I should try my flatline that way.
And we used to use it as an excuse to be like, oh no, I'm fuck-footed. I have a weird combination of sides here, so I have to change something. I'm not gonna do it the same way. But today, of course, and even more with skirt, we're trying to stay open to this, that okay, there's variations, and you can actually get these variations if you have the dedication, and then it just starts being so much wider once you see unicycling like that. And I like to imagine today flip tricks with half flips and stuff. I cannot do so many flips, unfortunately, but there's a lot of places where it comes in handy. For example, out flips are really uncommon away from front foot.
Yeah.
We're starting to pull blind.
Yeah, God, don't even get me started.
So,
Yeah.
I think it would be really smart for a beginner rider, for example, to do full out half flips for a beginning, because it's nicer to land when it comes into your front foot, like, and then you can start like that, which is the most normal way to start a full out flip, and then you can land in the comfortable way.
Easy, yeah. And I think it changes how you do your flip, too.
Better ladder, like...
It affects how your flip feels, too.
Yeah, it does affect it. It changes the shape of the whole trick.
Yeah,
Probably a lot of people would argue that it's not such a nice shape, because, of course, it's a very classic motion and feeling, this of, like, snapping and getting back to... it's kind of what brings that sensation of finishing the trick, that you get back to where you started somehow. But it's also a cool attribute to change stance with a trick.
Yeah, I've only done one trick you might call like symmetric, like on both sides. I don't know. It's like with both hands. I don't know if that's the same. But I did on my skirt set. I did the out flip where I did it with my right hand and then my left hand. But I had never done it with my left hand before. That day was the first day I'd ever done it. And I've always done, right foot forward, right hand out flip, which sometimes I feel like I have a hard time with my flips. I don't know what it is, the pressure there. Some people say it's the hard way, some people say it's the easy way. But most people say turning away from the pedal is like the better way to get a flip. So to my complete shock and surprise, when I did it with my left hand and then my right foot, it was like easier than normal. And that was really surprising to me. I didn't expect the feeling of the trick to be so obviously easier. I thought it was going to feel kind of the same. But it, like, just the crank flip almost happens by itself when I did it with my right foot, my left hand. But with my right hand, right foot, I feel like I really have to consciously push to make the crank flip happen.
Yeah. They're so different, and I think this is what needs to change in unicycling, that we need to, as a community, appreciate this difference, because right now it's like, I feel like I've started appreciating it during the last year or so now, and when I talk to unicyclists, it sounds like a lot of people still think that I don't care about those details.
Well, because
they don't want to get in.
I should go back and read all the comments on the internet first. But do you remember the question I asked Mose about the full out flips? In competition.
No, Oh,
Yeah, just to recap.
This was one of those moments where I was like,
Yeah, so just to recap though, really quick, in case anyone didn't get this. So, Mimo Seidler goes to the mani pad. He does a full-out flip with his right hand up, and then he does it with his left hand down the mani pad. Now, in idea, it is the same trick. It's just a full-out flip up, full-out flip down. And then Waylon Back comes up, and he does a right hand full-out flip up, and then a right hand full-out flip down. I would say in competition, if we were thinking about like trying to grade competition fairly, we should either decide if that is the same trick or if it's not the same trick. Because if you were looking at like a point value, like who did the harder trick? In theory, they both did the same trick 2 times.
No.
But that's the debate though, right? Because that's the debate though is some people would argue that they did do the same trick 2 times, and some people would argue, well, Mimo's is different. But some people would argue too that like, yeah, you can get good at doing a trick either way.
Yeah. But one thing about that, I think that the reason Mimo would have to answer himself. Hopefully, you can get him on the.
You'll have to ask him.
But
you'll be like, hey, Mimo.
The thing is, when you do a full out flip, you usually catch it with your opposite hand that you started with. So my idea of it, when I see it, my feeling is that Mimo does it because after his first flip, he ends up in a place where he feels like doing the second flip.
Yeah.
And this is something that's become clearer for me from the board as well, that like you want some kind of, it's all there in the details of the sensation of riding, and you want some kind of invitation to do something. It's really nice when it comes from an impulse like this. So I think to do a full out flip up and to then like switch hand to then do another full out flip down, then maybe a street rider would think, oh, it's cool because it's both up and down.
Yeah.
I would think that maybe down it would be nice to see a fifth then or
Sure.
something. Or you have more air time, and it's kind of boring to have 2 tricks at that. But to do the other direction, that's like, oh, it's nice. They really connect with how you end up there, and then you go there, and it makes something else in there completely.
Yeah, I suppose what I'm saying is like, I think we obviously recognize that it takes more skill to do them both directions. And I think most riders would agree with that. But, if we were thinking about the trick as we have to decide if this trick is harder or easier, let's keep this idea strictly in the competition sense rather than what we obviously know is the skill rider set. In theory, they did both do, this scenario we're talking about. He only did, in theory, 2 full-out flips. Now, we know from riding that it's 2 different full-out flips. But some riders would naturally do a left-hand right foot, and some people would naturally do a right-hand right foot. And it's unusual that a rider can do both. But in competition, would we grade, say, those full-out flips as higher ranking full-out flips, even though they're the same as Waylon Batt's fictional?
No, but I get how you're thinking. You're thinking kind of that. You're thinking of them separately.
Yeah.
That you give points for the first trick and you give points for the second trick.
Because that's not strictly how you've been at the comps. That's not strictly how they're graded. But in some respects, we do take notes of like what tricks are landed in to give them like an idea of how challenging the trick were in. It would be weird, I think, to notice like, okay, left hand full out flip, right hand full out flip. I probably wouldn't write that. I would just write full out flip,
Yeah, I would. I don't know how I would have time to write notes at the same time, but I imagine I would because I would see that in the line instantly when I see him do up and then down in the other direction, then I would probably make a note of that somehow, or write up and then write blind down. Even if it was the first one that was blind, I would write it to remember that, okay, it was 2 directions. Because the thing is that if you give points for one full out flip individually, then of course it's not any of those full out flips that give more points than the other. But there is an amount of points reserved for variety.
Totally,
right?
And that would definitely be some variety.
And this is variety, versatility, as I've seen in Jack's bio. He says, "I'm trying to create versatility in my."
Yeah. Well,
and this is versatility. It's greater versatility to have 2 directions, and I would say it's also more flow and more style in the complete picture because of the way that one trick starts from where the other trick finished. It looks kind of improvised. It looks more like the feeling. It looks more like something that I get tempted to do when I see it. It looks comfortable.
Absolutely, and it just looks incredible too. Obviously, be able to do it that way. But you and I talked about this a lot, and then Mose and I also talked about this a lot. So, unicycle community, we want to know what you feel about this question, this scenario. Do we want to start thinking of these tricks as different tricks? Is that the answer to the problem? Or do we just generally have to accept that we have to grade riders in their own, style and ability? It's got to be, obviously a combination of the two, but what's this idea? Are tricks different? Are they the same? Should we start labeling these tricks differently? Let the world decide. But, I don't know how long we're going to go here on this one. We're at an hour now. But I did want to at least get to one more subject, which is one we just recapped. What I think a lot when I think about your writing is, your tiny rides. What are they called again? I'm sorry.
Tiny
tricks.
My tutorials.
Your tutorials where you show people how. I think those tutorials are incredible. Especially the way that you break them down piece by piece. That's the way my brain works. I need to not know the whole trick. I need to take the components. And then I think it's easy to see how you can use those components for other tricks. And then the other thing which we talked about a lot, we know it's a pretty... maybe I'll post both of these so people can watch the echoey one. They'll see if they still want to listen to it. But... your use of the floor. You're not afraid to use the floor and use the floor intentionally as a component of your riding. And as I blathered on and on and on last time, I just think you're one of the few riders who uses the floor in a way that doesn't look cheesy. It looks intentional. It looks clean. You use the floor in an interesting way where it doesn't feel lazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Probably a lot of people would have complaints about sometimes when I stay on the floor, or I don't know if I put any of those in public actually, but I had a series of videos also called that I just called Play. There was improvisation sessions for me, where I had just. Where I was just moving with the unicycle and improvising, and a lot was on the floor then, and very weird motions, I don't know if everybody would agree with you, because I think a lot of people want riding to stay on the uni.
They want to be off the ground.
Yeah. And there's so many different ways to handle that, and I got tempted to first get out of that box from my friend Paulina, and she's done a lot of unicycling where she's not on top of the unicycle, but touching the floor as well. And then I started doing it too. And you see, of course, foot plants around, and the general idea with a foot plant, I guess, is to touch the floor very quickly, so you touch it as little as possible or something.
Well, most people say that if the foot plant's on the ground, it's it's not a real foot plant too. But that that's a silly idea. We all got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's for sure nice in street if it has some kind of, if it looks invited by the street itself, by the environment. There's something to foot plant on. But as I said, I'm related to juggling, so I just stepped off the unicycle and took the unicycle and tried to do tricks with it like that as well, but then trying to connect them in different ways. But a lot of times there's build-up exercises that you can do. Like you saw it in the Tiny Trick series in the Danhito tutorial.
Yeah.
That I said flirt with the floor.
Yeah, that's right. I really like that. Yeah, flirt with the floor.
I think it's perfect. Actually, I don't know if I used this so much myself when I learned Danhito in the beginning, but obviously it's really easy to touch the floor from there.
Totally.
You get really low, and so you can just step on the floor, and it's always good to like have the ability to walk through the trick slower. And another favorite trick of mine, the roller roll.
Oh yes! Oh my god, so good. Obviously, I got. You guys missed like a 10-minute video of me just gushing about the roll roll and how I think it's like one of the sexiest rolls.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree. I think it has a lot of potential. But I hope to see. I hope it can become a bigger thing in unicycle someday.
I still want to see the Rollo coasts.
Yeah.
You'll have to make a special shoe for that. It'll have to have like a metal plate or something that the metal can just ride around it.
But it's weird. A lot of people think that you would hurt your ankles doing roller roll. Last time when I posted one on Skirt, now Louis also said, "I hope you have insurance for those ankles."
I would be
I don't know
more worried about your toes, I would say, than an ankle. But I can see why people are afraid. They're afraid of the pedal coming up and smacking you.
Yeah, I don't know how that would happen. But the way to get them, at least the way I could first get into them, and that I would suggest for someone else to get into them, is to do it with a step on the ground with the free foot.
Oh, where you can put a foot on the ground for support and just like feel the motion of it going over.
The motion. Then you notice what you have to do. You have to just start a little bit further back, and then really twist the foot in time, flex it a little bit. And then you can pass through. If you have a good roller disc, you can pass through there in between. And if you repeat something like that, then you get it into your muscle memory so that it works smooth enough so you can do it without touching the ground as well. And I started doing it with coasts also because when I first got really hyped for these no-foot coasts, straightforward, I was about to get an inflammation in the muscle.
Oh yeah,
here.
from like squeezing so hard when you're.
Yeah, you use a lot of strength in the wrist to keep it under you when it's not very precise. As it becomes later.
I tried a couple this weekend, and it just completely seems insane to me. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's very hard to step right to the coast. You need to do like other tricks using the same grip and get the feeling. And when I was about to get an inflammation here, then I thought, what can I do to practice this technique but not use so much strength? And then I started just sliding my feet on the floor while doing it, and then I almost got the inflammation anyways because I kept
just doing it too much is all, overuse injury is what we call that.
But good way for a coast as well, that even a moving trick you can touch the floor and get some help from that.
Well, and I wonder, like is it like dragging the toe to feel more comfortable, like trying to learn some of this slow. But I think even like learning how to intentionally use the unicycle with the floor to make like recoveries look cooler as well.
Yeah, That's something, but that's recovery from what?
Yeah.
Because if you fall flat on your stomach,
You just do the worm, out of it.
Yeah.
Do you think competition would allow you to manipulate the floor without being docked points for it?
Really interesting question. From what I heard, I didn't read the rule book at any point.
Nobody has.
But I've heard something about a very concrete rule in freestyle that separates a slight touch of the floor and a more heavy touch on the floor. Somebody told me that there was this to allow you to make a little touch of adjustment. And I don't know really how the separation is between intentional touch and not intentional touch then, and how it would be to bring tricks that have a really good aesthetic or even difficulty while touching the floor as well. If they would, like in freestyle, due to the rules, give 0 points to that part.
But then
I don't really care for the rules because
you just want to ride for fun, obviously. You just want to ride for fun, obviously.
Exactly. And also, like, I'm passionate about bringing my idea.
Yeah, totally.
So I do get really nervous at a competition because I feel like, okay, now I have a chance to show my riding.
Well, and there are even some of those freestyle tricks, like some of the pirouettes they do, where they do intentionally touch the ground. And sometimes it seems it's different though. Some people seem to like put their foot on the ground, and sometimes people seem to like just touch with their toe. Like, so I don't know. I don't know what the rule book would say about that either.
But there's not so many. Then there's the foot plant thing, like in motion, that you make one foot plant to get back
totally.
up. How they really handle it, or how we're gonna handle it in the future. But I hope that it can be kind of open like that, because we do have hopefully judges that have an idea of difficulty of different stuff, and that it can just be general like that, to give points for difficulty and not give points for not touching the floor.
I do like the foot plant 360, for example. I like when people foot plant in 360. In that trick, I would like to even see someone do that in like a flatline competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard on flatland to get the height and everything.
Yeah. Jack
has done it nice with his fast plant.
That's true. I have worked on that fast plant quite a bit, and I am terrible at it. It is just every like the riding we were talking about. Every mechanism of it is it's just wrong for me. It just feels weird. It feels the wrong size, the wrong hands.
Yeah.
Gotta practice more.
And Jack is someone that's definitely like let go of this only one side idea. I think he's always open to use another hand or another stance if the trick needs it.
Yeah. Since you got your unicycle right here, why don't you show us with the camera? Show us your custom Mad for One, right? Mad for One 24-inch flatline unicycle. Some people might be listening to this, so I'm going to describe it as I'm seeing it. It looks nice. He's got KH. What are they, 110s?
Yeah.
He's got Chris Home Moment cranks 110s, or are they Spirit cranks? Other Moments for sure.
Moment.
And then he's using the Impact Rolos on there, which are the slightly slimmer, rounder ones, with Mad for One 24-inch racing frame, all black. And then you got the 24-inch racing tire. It looks nice and slim. Now
we have 0.5 written in the frame.
Oh, and you got the Mad for One, right? Because you said the Impact one was tight, or is this one tighter than your other frame?
No, this one is tighter. Or I'm also more used to. Wait, I'm gonna bring the other.
We're gonna have a little unicycle show.
I have everything here around somewhere. The thing is, through all my years on 20-inch, I've been riding the Nimbus Equinox.
You like?
So I got it first when I bought it. I bought this unicycle just because it was all black. And then I I was considering between Impact Atmos and Nimbus Equinox, the two cheapest square crowns with the ups. And then I got the Equinox because it had a nicer all black
Like
than the
look
Atmos
to it.
with some white.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I later got really happy realizing that I had chosen the lighter aluminium frame with a nicer shape. And I just stuck to Equinox through all my years. I stepped up eventually from 300 millimeter to 400 millimeter.
Frame.
Yeah.
Frame
But
height.
I love this shape. So this was always a dream frame for me when I thought about bigger wheel. Then I always dreamt about this one, which is the same shape, but for 24 inch. And this is the racing frame, the eSport.
Oh, I see.
So it is a little skinnier right here.
But it still has a lot of room.
Still,
it still looks like it has a lot of room on it.
It has kind of a lot of room, and it has I think this shape is really good. You see the curve at the top? Thing is, when you put your foot for a 1 foot coast, it comes a bit from the front.
And the angle's comfortable.
And you get a better surface there on the completely square Mad for One. You like end up on the edge, on the corner, and you don't get so much surface as you get with a 1 foot coast on this little curved one. So the Mad for One is a little trickier, but I also really like the Mad frame because it feels stiffer. It feels more robust and strong, and it's beautiful black. So it's
just this weekend I bent the crap out of my Mad for One unicycle seat post. And I got one of the strong reinforced ones too. Do you want to see it? Yeah. All right, I'll be right back. Okay.
Alone in Phil's room.
I don't know if you can see it from bringing it in, but yeah. So so you can see here, like there is an insert. The way these tubes are made, so there's like a 3 or 4 inch insert, and then the rest of the tube, and so you can clearly see my tube. It sticks out just above that.
Oh no!
And then it bent.
No.
Like I landed. I did a double flip off of the big. We have a big box and a small box at the skate park, and I did a double flip off the big box, and I landed too far back on my butt, and I just went bam and just bent it backwards. So it's a good thing I bought 2 of these because otherwise I'd be seat postless for quite some time.
You got 2 posts?
Yeah, 2 purple ones.
Okay, nice.
And I also have a saddle adapter. So hopefully there's enough tube here to chop this and use it with the purple with the saddle adapter because I like having the all purple.
Yeah. The purple is nice. It kind of matches this. It's a different purple as well, of course.
Yeah, a little lighter.
Or it has a beautiful purple to it.
But I will say it's the first really bad landing on my handle saddle, and my butt is still sore. It's been like 4 days.
I've changed my setup a bit since we talked last time, and I tried to go back to the handle saddle once again, because the thing is, my old carbon base is right here, and it has stripped the holes.
Oh my god!
So there was no.
Okay.
There was no hole.
I have the perfect thing to lead into after this.
Okay.
But you were saying, tell me about your saddle.
Well, so the handle kept flexing. And this, like, I was finally completely happy with my setup, except that I couldn't do my favorite thing to scuff coast because the handle kept flexing. So then I moved back once again to the handle saddle, which has the thickness of any seat.
Definitely.
But then I found it's so uncomfortable to sit on it.
It's pretty.
Like, I can't resolve this.
I don't mind it for street, but like sitting on it for a long time is rough.
Yeah.
So you said you tried to put your own paths?
I didn't get the thick cushion like you. I got the super slim cushion originally. So it was really uncomfortable. But now I've tried again to make my personal cushion on it.
Yeah.
And like shape it like a normal seat. But I never can quite get these two things. Like get it slim enough as I want it and also comfortable.
Yeah.
So I had to a normal seat.
I've been trying to wear better bike shorts. That's what I've been trying to do. I don't know. I assume you probably don't wear bike shorts when you ride at the gym, or do you?
No, I started using them for the mad handle, but I'm not happy. It's a temporary solution. I don't want to need bike shorts.
Yeah, that's true. I think my giant body will always need them. I think my giant body landing on the unicycle will always need bike shorts.
Yeah. Maybe that's the case. I only have 60 kilos, so for me it's alright. And I can support on my hands with the coast, so I can always support on feet and hands, and then just sit a little bit.
So show me your carbon base one more time. I want you to show it really close to the camera. So, show me the front, just the front. Now, is that the square holes that stripped? Oh, it is the square holes that stripped. So, I have the perfect question for you. Would you be interested in someone else modifying your handle saddle so that it doesn't have square holes?
Wait, my handle saddle?
Sorry, so not your handle saddle, your carbon saddle. Sorry,
my carbon saddle. Yeah, definitely. I hate seat building. I did this 2 days ago now. And I was ready to quit unicycling. And I think this happens every time I say, okay, first I push it up, and I think, I don't want to rebuild my seat. I don't want to rebuild my seat. I don't dare to. And then when I finally get to it, it's so frustrating to work with, and I get stressed, and I get annoyed. And then I don't want to ride unicycle.
It's funny. I don't like working on any part of my unicycle, but I kind of like working on my saddles. So what I did here is, this is Mose's Religion carbon fiber seat, and I have been taking the square holes, and I don't know if you can see that with the light, and then I have done this to them. I have bored them out to be hex shaped, and then put nuts in them that fit the hex shape. So even if your square holes are stripped, because the square holes are smaller, I could file them out to be hexes like this, and then you glue the bolts in. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
And then they usually don't strip. I've done this to 4 bases, and I've actually gotten pretty good at it. So tell me, Unicycle World, you want me to refit your carbon fiber base? Is this a service the Unicycle World wants? It might be one I offer.
I would want it. We just have to look at what the shipping is gonna be, but it's probably not too much. It seems to be pretty cheap to send stuff.
No, I'm gonna offer you this first before anybody else. But Ivar, if you want me to work on your saddle, if you send me your saddle, I'll do it for you for free.
Right.
Yeah, just ship it to my house, and I'll do it for you. Especially if you're not using it right now, it'd be a good time for me to do it. But tell me, Unicycle.
Now I have Exceed on instead.
Say that one more time.
Now I have the Exceed on instead.
Oh, that's true.
It's funny. It's actually the one you're holding there, Moses. It's actually looking at his unbox video.
Oh yeah.
I opened that one, and I found myself tempted to. I was like, should I buy one from Mimo? Should I buy a religion base right now instead? Because I was tired of my flexing handle and this. But and then I was like, come on. I already got 2 carbons and a handle saddle. I don't need to buy one. I should be able to get this together.
Yeah.
And I got to work.
Well, consider that unicycle world. If you don't want to spend the money on an Exceed base, not saying there's anything wrong with them, just saying if you don't want to spend the money, and you already have a carbon fiber base that you want worked on, hit your boy Phil up. Might be able to do some work for you. But, I put a lot of practice into developing this skill, so if your name's not Ivar, it might cost you. Well, what do you think, Ivar? You think this one will work? You think this conversation will be good?
Yeah, the combo is good.
I think.
The combo.
Well,
I don't know if we have more to say. If there's anyone mention.
I think we're at a good point. We can always do more talks, Ivar.
Yeah.
Well,
we talk some other. Then we talk at Unicon next time, right?
Oh God, we better talk there a whole bunch. Hopefully, I'll try to have some actual flatland / free stuff for you next time we run into each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prepare a routine.
Yeah. I'll prepare a little something, some art for you. I'll make some art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking with me. I hope. We're gonna let this recording run a little long. Remember, but thanks for talking with me, Ivar. I hope we talk again soon. Yeah, guys, let us know if or Ivar. Last question: who would you like to hear talk about unicycling on the podcast? Call them out.
There's many to choose from.
You pick top three.
Mimo is known for not talking so much.
That's why I want to break the silence.
So try to get him on. And bring Jack, my favorite rider
Jack,
at the moment.
I should message Jack. Jack, I hope you're listening to these. I hope you do podcasts.
Yeah. Or Michael.
Oh, Michael Blackleda. Michael would be good. I think me and Michael are pretty tight. We could have a good conversation, I think.
Yeah. Maybe Pablo, or...
I have a coworker who looks almost identical, I think. Well, in my brain. I think other people think it, but he looks just like Michael Blackleda, and it reminds me of Michael every time I see him.
Who does he look like?
He looks like Michael Blackleda.
Pablo and Michael look the same.
Do they?
I thought that's what you said.
No, sorry. I said I have a coworker who looks almost exactly like Michael Blackleda.
Aha. Maybe it's him undercover.
Yeah, he just comes and hangs out in Washington for days on it.
Yeah.
Well, at almost midnight for me, and it's almost time for you to go to the gym, huh?
Yeah, I might skip it to go skate at the arena instead.
Right.
But we'll see.
Well, I wish you a good ride. Thanks for talking with me, Ivar.
Thanks.
Until next time.